So a new national rifle and magazine ban has now been introduced into Congress and is moving forward once again. So let's talk about this absurd law that is now being pushed. Now, really quick before we jump into this video, I want to ask you all for a huge favor. Looking at some of my analytics, about 60% of all my viewers are actually not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to support this two-way content for free, please consider subscribing to the channel. Help me reach my goal of reaching 700,000 subscribers and potentially even more. 60% of viewers, that's a lot. So I'd appreciate your guys' support. But regardless, thank you guys so much for all you do for me in this channel. So like I mentioned in the intro, a new national rifle and magazine ban has been introduced into Congress. This bill is called the Gas-Operated Semi-Automatic Firearms Exclusion Act, also known as the Go Safe Act. This bill was introduced originally by a Senator Martin Heinrich, and that individual is out of New Mexico. The goal of this bill is to create a national ban on the most common rifles and magazine bands that gun owners choose, purchase, possess, and use for all kinds of law-abiding purposes, target shooting, self-defense, and then the potential of actually using them to fight back against a tyrannical government, either foreign or domestic. And that's exactly why they want to ban these items. This bill tries to win over hearts and minds by saying that they are only going to target gas-operated rifles that they deem so-called dangerous rifles, and then also magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. This is a plain and simple attempt to kind of ban certain rifles, the same kind of old rifle magazine ban that has been pushed for multiple times at a national level, at a state level. We've seen a lot of state level bans get passed recently, like in Illinois, in other states like Washington, Oregon, and others, California, New York, New Jersey. And once again, they're trying this at a national level. Now, keep in mind, I know a lot of people say, well, this will never happen, but keep in mind, we have had a federal national ban before. So this is something that always is concerning when it's pushed for once again. And now a clone version of this bill has been introduced into the House. The House version of this bill is HR 8600, and it's also titled as a Go Safe Act. The House version of this bill was introduced by Representative Lucy McBath, and that individual is out of Georgia. And it is also co-sponsored by Representative Donald Breyer out of Virginia, Nikema Williams out of Georgia, Hank Johnson out of Georgia, Gwen Moore out of Wisconsin, and then Haley Stevens out of Michigan. So let's break down what this rifle and magazine ban bill does, and then we need to talk about what we need to do to stop this. So the Go Safe Act essentially states that it shall be unlawful for any person to import, sell, manufacture, transfer, receive, or possess in or affecting interstate or foreign commerce a firearm device or combination of parts described in subparagraphs A through H. Now, under this language, the bill bans the future sale, manufacture, and possession of so-called gas-operated rifles. The bill states that they will compile a list of prohibited gas-operated semi-automatic firearms that then will be banned. The prohibited rifles will include any rifle that is modified in any way that it will also operate like a traditional rifle. The bill states that it will also regulate the combination of parts if designed and functions to modify an otherwise non-prohibited firearm. That means that this bill language would potentially also target the sale and possession of certain parts if those parts could then be used to modify something like an AR-15 to make it fully functional and in a traditional manner. So maybe you would have a situation where some states or just generally people would be selling single shot, maybe AR-15s. We see that in some states like California. But then this bill would also say, well, if a complete upper, which would be sold that could potentially make it function as a traditional rifle, well, then they potentially are going to regulate those complete uppers as well. So again, that brings into question in my mind the future viability of even being able to purchase, possess, and transfer something like a full AR-15 complete upper. Now, you may be asking yourself, what does this bill define as a gas-operated semi-automatic firearm, and what does that mean? Well, the bill states that the term gas-operated with respect to a semi-automatic firearm means any firearm that harnesses or traps a portion of the high-pressure gas from a fired cartridge to cycle the action using a long-stroke piston where gas is vented from the barrel to a piston that is mechanically fixed to the bolt group or moves to cycle the action. B, a short stroke piston where gas is vented from the barrel to the piston that moves separately from the bolt group so that the energy is imparted through a gas piston to cycle the action. C, a system that traps and vents gas from either the barrel or the chamber to directly strike or impinge the bolt carrier, or slide assembly to unlock and cycle the action, or a hybrid of those systems. So that's a lot of technical and legal mumbo jumbo, but essentially it reaches the point where the most common semi-automatic rifles, AR-15s, AKs, and others would be banned and restricted. Now, like always, they tried to fool people and win over hearts and minds by saying that this is only going to be a future ban. It's only going to be a prospective ban on certain rifles. The bill states that they are going to allow you to keep those rifles and firearms you already possess under a grandfathered provision. The bill states that the provisions will not apply to the possession of a gas-operated semi-automatic firearm that was possessed before the date of the bill's enactment if the firearm was manufactured and transferred before that enactment. So again, don't be fooled by that. That is a grandfathered provision that a lot of states throw in when they do rifle magazine bans. And, here they're trying to do that at a national level. Now, the penalty for violating this law is a fine of $5,000 and imprisonment of no more than 12 months for each offense. So that's a year per rifle and per violation. But this bill is not isolated to just a ban of the most commonly possessed rifles. It also will impact magazines. The bill states that except as otherwise provided in paragraph 3, it shall be unlawful on or after the date of enactment of this subsection for any person to, in or affecting interstate or foreign commerce, A, to import, sell, manufacture, transfer, or receive a large capacity ammunition feeding device, or B, possess a large capacity ammunition feeding device manufactured after the date of the enactment of this subsection. 2, it shall be unlawful for any person who lawfully owns or possesses a large capacity ammunition feeding device that was manufactured and purchased or transferred before such date of enactment to transfer in or affecting interstate or foreign commerce such device after the date of enactment of this subsection. So that means that if this bill becomes law, there will be a hard cutoff on the future sale and purchase and acquisition of any magazine that holds more than 10 rounds. Your standard magazines you already have will still be legal, but you can never sell or transfer them going forward. So that there is going to be the national magazine ban that is included in the Go Safe Act. Think about all the states that already have a magazine capacity limitation, and rifle bans as well, like California. Well, that's what the Go Safe Act wants to do. It just wants to make California law or New York law at a national level. Now, you may be asking yourself, if this becomes law, how will they know which rifles and magazines were in your possession prior to the ban? And how will they know which rifles and magazines were made after the ban? Well, this bill includes a marking and identification requirement. It states that any rifle and magazine manufactured after the bill date, after it goes into effect, they will have to be marked with a serial number and a date that identifies that this is a post-ban rifle or magazine. So that's how they're going to keep track of which items were pre-ban and which items were post-ban. So that's a quick breakdown of this national rifle magazine ban that's included in the Go Safe Act. Now, if you didn't understand, all of that, all the intricacies, you can actually go to Senator Heinrich's website, and they have a very interesting, color-coded anti-gun graphic and flow chart to show how they're going to infringe on your 2A rights. Now, the concerning thing with this bill is that it will likely be pushed for a vote once again. Last year, when this bill was first introduced into the Senate, through Senator Heinrich and the co-sponsors, they pushed for a committee review of this Go Safe Act, and then also they're pushing for a Senate vote of this. However, fortunately, it died in the Senate. But now they're reintroducing it. They're introducing a House version, and they're likely going to push for a vote in the House. Now, in reality, they don't really have the votes in the House and the Senate to get this passed, especially something as controversial as a national rifle magazine ban, especially in an election year. But again, they're trying to use this as a tool to win them some brownie points for election. But in reality, this is still something that we have to keep an eye on, because we're just one highly publicized tragedy away from something like this getting pushed, gaining momentum. Remember, after the Uvalde incident, we had multiple rhinos in the House and the Senate side with the Democrats to pass the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. So again, we're just one incident away, or just one weird situation, especially in an election year, away from something like this gaining traction. So again, if you want to fight back against this, contact your representatives. Let them know that you want them to oppose the Go Safe Act. And again, this is something we're going to be keeping our eyes on to see if it gains any traction. So if you guys like this video and you'd like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm, and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of two-way news. But as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.